All right, Steeler fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman of Behind the Steel Curtain, and it is time for another Steelers preview, but not just any preview. It is Ravens week, or as I used to call it before joining Behind the Steel Curtain, Ravens hate week. And it's always fun to talk about Steelers, Ravens. And for these three guys that are on the screen or in your headphones or they're listening to an audio form, this game means a little bit more. We all reside in the old line state, which is the state of Maryland. So let's bring in the other two. Dave, what's going on, Dave?
Not too much, Jeff. Just ready for this week to get over with. Not just because it's 1 week closer to Christmas, but because this is a big one. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I love Ravens week. It's my favorite. These are my favorite 2 weeks of the NFL season. Bryan, what about you? What's up?
Well, I learned yesterday with Daniel Wilcox and even just today seeing that Miles Jack is getting calls about how important this week is. They really, this is a big for them. So not just us, it is fantastic to have this feeling that anything can happen. And I just go back to last year, 20-19 it was Heinz Field then, but that place was a rockin'. I think it's going to go crazy this week, and I'm hoping we're all happy. But remember, anything could happen. Assume nothing, expect everything.
That's right. And that's the title of the show. Speaking of Miles Jack, he his quote was that when he was in Jacksonville, the closest thing they had like a big rivalry was Tennessee. And he said, I don't think that this even comes close. He said, I've never played in one of these games, but like you said, Bryan, he's getting calls, he's getting texts, and he's like, nah, I don't think it's going to match. Who was it? Was it Tomlin said it's a double chin strap type of game?
I think that was last year.
Yeah, I think it was. He said it's a double chin strap type of game. So I always love these games. Dave, I'm going to ask you something here, and that is, do you think there's still the hatred and vitriol within this matchup, or do you think it's the new, I hate the word, the respect? Oh, these two teams respect each other. They didn't used to respect each other when Haloti Ngata was breaking Ben Roethlisberger's nose and Ed Reed was trying to cheap shot Hines Ward. I mean, do you still think that it's the same type of, those old heads are gone now, and Ben Roethlisberger was the last one of them? What do you think, Dave?
I'm going to give you such a Dave answer because it depends on your definition of respect. because you know the other team is going to bring it. Is that respect worthy? That's up to you. You know that the other team is going to try to hit you even harder than what you're hitting them. And it doesn't matter the names on the back of the jerseys. It doesn't matter if this number's here or if this number's gone. It's ingrained in both these teams, even as everything turns over. Because just because it's not Ben Roethlisberger, there are plenty of guys on the team this year that played with Ben Roethlisberger last year. They've learned about it. Guess what the guys that didn't play with Ben Roethlisberger last year is happening. They're learning about it. Miles Jack is learning about it, someone who wasn't a part of it. And all it takes is one player to carry over from one year to the next on both teams, and you learn about it. It's ingrained in you. It doesn't matter if the names change. It doesn't matter if they're both fighting for the one seed in the AFC, if they're fighting, which means they would obviously be fighting for the divisional crown, or if they're fighting for a wild card spot. It doesn't matter if one's up and one's down. It still doesn't matter. They're both going to bring it. So to me, it does not matter if those players have moved on.
See, for me, I feel like this rivalry, to get that fire going again, and even when Ben was still on the roster, it just was missing something. There needs to be like one key moment, one big play, one big hit, something that's just like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, the whole dynamic changes. Bryan, if there's that one moment, if there's a one hit, one play, and you're predicting who's going to make that play, who is it for you?
I really think it's one of two guys on the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, either Minkah or TJ. In fact, Minkah already, and you alluded to this, if I go into the time machine and guess what you're going to talk about on Let's Ride tomorrow, you're going to bring up Minkah on Willie Snead in 2020. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do on your show when you record it.
I think I might use that though.
Go ahead. But I think the rivalry's still there. I think it's already there because think about this. That game last year, on January 9th, I believe, that was for one team to get into the playoffs. And it went into overtime. And there were some hits in that game that, I mean, it's being built up again. When Wang Harbs goes for 2 in the last seconds of a game in 2021 in December, that's a rivalry game. I mean, this is rivalry. Jeff, let me ask you a question. Back in your days of 17 pick sixes in middle school, who was your rival? What was the name of your rival?
Our rival was Triadelphia Middle School.
I bet you Triadelphia is still the rival of that team. I bet you Triadelphia was the rival in the 70s and 80s of that team. Am I correct?
I couldn't tell you if they're a rival now, but maybe.
Okay.
I don't even know if the school's still open.
That could change
Brian.
things a little bit.
Who did you play for in high school?
No, you're exactly right. I played for Northern. Our rival was Southern. It still is. It still is. That's just because that's the way it works.
Yeah. So, that the stink of a rivalry, and this is not a bad stink, but that seeps into the jersey. It seeps into the logo. I mean, it's always going to be that same way. You're always going to hate that team. Hey, people still hate the Dallas Cowboys from a rivalry way back in the 1970s, basically, in a couple Super Bowls. They're always you know what? It's really weird. If you ask maybe a millennial what they think about the Raiders, they're not going to say too much. They're like, there's been some good games. You ask our parents about the Raiders, oh my gosh, game on. There's hatred because that rivalry was so strong, and it never goes away with them.
It works everywhere because, example, my father, he grew up outside of Boston. He has not lived there in 50 years. And yet he still hates everything New York. There's not a single sports team that he could possibly like because of that. That's exactly right, Brian.
I just want this. I've missed the days of Joey Porter and the rumors of him going on the bus after the game, and it went over the line. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. Now there was that. Then there's that other proverbial line that Vontaze Burfict went over. I never felt like anyone in the Ravens Steelers were trying to injure the other person. I felt like at times Burfict was, and I don't want to go into that.
They were willing to injure each other within the confines of the game.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay, thank you. That's a very good clarification because Burfict was not. He would go outside that realm. Good, Brian. What were you gonna say?
And there is still going. This is where the respect word is not bad. It's because there's still going to be a prayer circle after the game. There's still going to be hugs and handshakes for guys that knew each other. I mean, it's not the fact that they knew each other before, that's where the respect comes in. But the game hatred, the angst of wanting to beat them really bad, that kind of changes a little bit after the game when they're handshaking and hugging and going back to the next week. But then 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, in week 17, it's going to be on again.
Okay, so look, real quick, and those that are watching live, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube, I want you to do this in the live chat as well, as we're going to do this, because I just like to do this. I think it's fun. Everyone's individual rankings are different. If you had to rank in the AFC North, your most hated team to the least hated team, what is your ranking system, Dave?
You mean what do you mean?
So I'll give you mine.
What's my order?
I hate the Ravens the most.
Yeah.
They're number one on my list.
Okay.
I hate
numbers.
Yes,
okay.
I hate the Bengals next. And the Browns the least. Believe it or not, I hate the Cleveland Browns the least out of the AFC North. And a lot of people might have different ones. That's fine. I hate them all in their own way. But what would your hierarchy be, Dave?
Well, I'm not going 1, 2, 3. Mine are 1A, 1B, and 1C.
Okay, so what's your 1A, 1B, 1C?
1A is the Ravens, and 1B is the Browns, and 1C is the Bengals. Now, it wasn't this way 5 years ago, but sometimes it's just things within the organization, whether it's bad or whether it's good, it can change that a little bit. I think the Bengals right now are a team doing things more the right way when I couldn't stand them before. So they just seem like a different team. And the Browns are just a mess. They're still a mess. And I can't stand some of the decisions that they're making, putting other things, quarterback contracts and things of that nature. That's why I hate the Browns, because they should not benefit from some of the stupid stuff they're doing. And that's why I can't stand them, but it's hard to move them ahead of the Ravens either.
That's true. Brian, what about you?
I'm going to go the Jefferson Starship route for the first part of this. I'm going to definitely say Ratbirds first, Bengals second, Browns third, but I want to take this a little further. I'm going to go ahead and say, as far as organizations go, I respect the Ravens the most out of organizations because of the way they conduct themselves on, especially with drafting and what they do. Second and third, it's a tie for crappiest. I mean, 32nd in the league. They are dumb. Cleveland's organization is stupid. Cincinnati is just, they have no clue either. Now, the biggest ranking, I want to throw this back at you, and I know you didn't expect this to go that long, but fan rankings are very important to me because I think Baltimore, they're knowledgeable, but the thing about Baltimore, they'll go away in a heartbeat. They're
knowledgeable.
You know a whole different Raven sense than I do. That's the thing.
They're knowledgeable enough compared to the other two. Now, I kind of respect Browns fans a little bit more until there's helmets being swung and they're going a little rabid and crazy. But Bengals are the dumbest fans I've ever met in the world. So compared to the Bengals, the Baltimore's B Dirt's in here. I'm sorry, B Dirt. I didn't mean not you. I like B Dirt, but a lot of the fans. I mean, I love when they're filing on that Escalooser and going away. But the thing about Ravens fans, they are very bandwagon. They're definitely bandwagon because when things are going wrong, they'll go.
Okay, which one did you say? I spaced out for a second.
Ravens fans are bandwagon.
Yes, because they'll disappear if the teams are not doing well.
Browns fans are never going away.
That's the one thing you have to give even the Bengals fans. Remember, I'm thinking back in the 90s, early when the Bengals were just yikes. If someone would still admit that they were a Bengals fan, you had to say kudos to you, just because you're like, man, you're just long suffering. So and now almost somewhat the same way with Browns fans. But I ran into a very nice, respectful Browns fan, but I have to say former Browns fan. Just a couple weeks ago, they saw me in Steelers stuff. They wanted to stop and talk football, so I stopped and talked football with them. And they said I was a Browns fan for the longest time, but I'm now saying former because of what they did at the quarterback situation in the offseason. And they said I'm a fan of the NFL, but I cannot cheer for that team right now.
Yeah, I get it. You know, you bring up the Browns fans. I'll never forget being back in Wheeling, where I'm from, is such a unique area because of the proximity to Ohio. And one time my dad and brother and I are on the golf course. It's really crowded in the middle of the summer, and there are these people that are visiting in Wheeling, and they're golfing ahead of us. And one of us was wearing a Steelers shirt or something, like, oh, you guys are Steeler fans and they're Brown fans. And I said to my dad, I was like, there's no one more loyal than Browns fans. If you are a Browns fan and you've put up with all of that, they're like Pirates fans with baseball. You put up with all that crap for all those years, you are loyal almost to a fault. And then there were all these Bengals. My dad belongs to several bars. Wheeling is such a unique little town. Everyone has to be members at these bars to get in. You can't just go in. You got to be a member. And one of these bars that he belonged to, there was a father and a son. They were Bengals fans. They'd come in on an NFL Sunday, and they'd have their stupid starter jackets, Bengal jackets. I'm like, you know what? If you've got the balls to come into this bar, which is all Steeler fans, wearing that hideous starter jacket, you know what? You can sit over there and you can watch your little Bengals on the little 12-inch screen over on the corner of the bar by the Keno machine, and we'll just cheer for the Steelers elsewhere. But still, I love having these discussions. I could talk about like the fans and stuff all day, all night, telling stories, but you all want to get ready for the game. I get it.
Yeah.
We want to get ready for the game too. Let's talk about the title of this show. The history tells us to assume nothing and expect anything. So here we have a very unique situation once again with Lamar Jackson. Again, not probable. He's not been ruled out, but he's not going to play. We all can probably agree to that. And Tyler Huntley's going to be in there. And a lot of fans are thinking, yep, here we go. Steelers W. I don't know. Dave, what are your thoughts when you think about that situation with the Ravens offense with Huntley at quarterback?
it's going to give the Ravens fans that I run around to, that if I happen to come across Ravens fans, what they'll say is they've now got their built-in excuse.
Yeah.
They've got their built-in excuse. Oh, we didn't have Lamar, but then if they would win the game, it would be like, oh, he's just as good as Lamar. It all depends on the narrative of the outcome, which I've talked about with Steeler fans as well. We want everyone benched and fired if the last second field goal goes just outside the uprights, and if it goes just inside the uprights to win, everyone's great and let's do a parade. That's over the top. It's not that bad, but obviously, with it, I feel like when that is going to happen with the fans, that'll be the narrative. But to me, it shouldn't matter who's the quarterback. I think both of them, especially their ability to make plays with their legs, that you can either do it or you can't. And you can either do it at a high level or you can't. And I think that both of them can do it at a high level. So to me, you've just got to prepare for this just like you would either way. Prepare for the quarterbacks the same. And who cares which number's on the jersey? You've got to you go about business the same way.
So, Dave, just real quick, I mean, you said the fan narrative for the Ravens is already there, that, oh, Lamar wasn't playing. Wouldn't you say that the narrative's there for poo-poo Steeler fans, too? That
I heard your Let's Ride today, or yesterday. Yeah. What am I saying today? I finished it today, that's why. I heard that. Yeah, that's going to be the poo-poo Steeler fans.
That's the poo-poo Steeler.
They'll be ready. How many days are we from kickoff? How many hours are we from kickoff? And they've already got there. Well, the Steelers only won because I wasn't going to go as far as you did, but you're right. Yeah. But at the same time, I was just going to go with the Ravens fans. But that's exactly right. It's the opponent was bad or this, that, or the other thing. Sometimes you can't even begin to think that this team is doing anything right. So.
Because they scored a garbage time touchdown against the Bengals to get to 30 points. Anyways,
yeah.
That's not it. Brian, what are your thoughts about Hundley at quarterback and what this means for this upcoming game?
Picture this, 2015. One Dave Schofield and one Bryan Anthony Davis were in the same stadium 2 days after Christmas. They did not know that their paths were going to cross. They didn't know that they'd be spooning at a game just
4 short years later.
But they went into this
offense on the way home.
Oh yeah.
in the storm.
And what they didn't know going into the game, I don't know how Dave was, but I know me, I'm like, Steelers are taking on Ryan Mallett. They only have 5 wins on the season or 4 wins on the season. This should be nothing. 3 hours later, 20-17 Ravens. Steelers go to the playoffs, but these guys just won their Super Bowl. Anything can happen. And so with Tyler Huntley, I think the guy could pass a football. I think he's very strong at passing. Is he as dynamic as Lamar Jackson on the run? No, he's not. But he's got his own legs. And they might be Lamar light, but that's still pretty darn good to be Lamar light. So do not take your eye off the prize in this game. Do not go ahead and say, hey, this is in the bag. But here's the good thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers of 2022. You know what we've been talking about for years? The old Steelers play down to their competition. They play up to their competition. No, they're just playing competition this year because most of 2022, they've been dreadful. So now don't expect them to all of a sudden be, oh, we're walking in the stadium and we can do whatever we want because we're going to win because we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't have that mentality right now. Hopefully they get that back, but keep it in a good way. But with Tyler Huntley, yeah, you got to be wary. This guy basically beat this team in just 9 months ago, or what's January, 11 months ago in week 18. And they were both trying to go to the playoffs. And the Steelers made their own breaks. They won the game in overtime. Despite Najee being hurt and having to come back hurt and playing hurt. But it was a slobber knocker of a game, and Huntley was tough to beat at that time. And there was parts of that game where I'm like, this guy's good. And they've got a great 1A in Baltimore when somebody goes down.
So these games between the Steelers and Ravens, they always come down to one or two plays. And sometimes it's an unlikely hero that makes the play. I often think back to, Bryan would probably ought to tell you what year it was. A little check down to Isaac Redman, who he spins off of like two defenders, scores a touchdown. Steelers win. I believe it was Sunday Night Football. Bryan,
2010.
2010. If you had to guess, offensively, who's the guy that makes that play that wins the game if the Steelers do win the game? Dave, who you got? Who's the unlikely hero?
Oh, well, see, I'm even thinking of the last time they played. It was remember Ray McLeod caught that fourth down, fourth down pass. So who's the unlikely hero? See, I would say it could be someone like a Connor Hayward, but then after last week,
I think that would still be unlikely, though. I think that's still pretty unlikely.
What do you think of a Steven Sims? Somebody like that. Or even what would be even better? Honestly, what would be the best?
Don't take mine.
I'm going to say it.
You had your one. You had your one.
Boy,
you had one. No. I didn't hear what he said.
You take two answers all the time and then leave them for us.
He said Miles Boykin.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. Oh, that would be
because
awesome.
he was because
former team.
From that was what I'd love to see.
It'd be like Chris Wormley batting a pass up in the air and intercepting it.
Yeah. Wormley gets an interception. Boykin scores on a jet sweep.
Okay, that would be awesome, Dave. I'm sorry because that's not who I had.
Who did you have, Bryan?
I'm going to go a little crazy here and say Benny Snell Jr.
Okay. Benny Snell ran well against them the last game of the season in 2019.
Yeah, because that was when Najee Harris left with the elbow injury.
Oh, no, I'm talking about
last year he was not
2019.
2019 when they had to go into Baltimore. It was in the rain. They were running well. Benny Snell was doing great, and then Duck Hodges completely flubbed it up and gave them 7 points right before the end of the half, and the Steelers just couldn't run the ball anymore because they were behind by too much.
Yeah.
Hey, before you put the black and gold H for hypocrite on me, I know I'm tough on Benny Snell. I really am. That's why he would be the unlikely hero, but I'm seeing some heroism in him the past couple weeks.
I'll give you two since everyone else seems to be giving two for this answer.
I only gave one.
I know you did. Do you want a second one?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I do. No, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go Jaylen Warren.
Oh, that's a good one.
And someone else that hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year, and that's Zach Gentry.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they in the red zone have.
I thought you were going to say Deontay Johnson.
But I'm sad. We laugh and cry on the inside because it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will take my other one, Derek Watt.
Derek Watt.
Man,
I gotta
inside
say,
shovel pass.
Hey,
run the wing T, run the belly play.
No, a wheel route.
Trap.
Wheel route.
Oh, wheel route. That'd be a good one.
He's going deep.
Hey, he's Mr. 3rd and 1, right?
Yeah.
5 for 5 on 3rd and 1. Is that correct? Stat Geek.
What was the question? I was too busy reading Jerry Cherryman's comment of the Pigeons will score.
Stat Geek on Space Cadet.
The fine score against the Ravens. Sorry. So you said Derek Watt's what for what?
Isn't he 5 for 5 on 3rd and 1?
I don't know if it's 3rd and 1, but I think he has a lot of first downs. Is the best way to say it. I can get that quickly.
All right, there you go.
All right. So this is going to be a fun game. And a lot of this comes down to injuries, unfortunately. Yeah. And the Steelers have several key players that have found their way on the injury report. So, Dave, you want to run us down the injury report?
Yeah, I will real quick. I will just say I don't know that they were all on 3rd down, but Derek Watt has 5 rushes this year, and all 5 of them are first downs. All right, so injury report we'll hit the Steelers first. There was some quote-unquote players going the wrong way this week, and one of the players notorious for going the wrong way is Deontay Johnson, and he went the wrong way because he was limited on Wednesday and did not practice on Thursday.
I've got a theory on these, by the way.
Okay, I do too. Okay. Najee Harris went in the correct direction where he wasn't practicing Wednesday, limited Thursday. The same for Chuks Okorafor. Didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday. Malik Reed with his back, he took it the big step. He went from didn't practice Wednesday to full on Thursday. TJ Watt was the other person who was limited on Wednesday, didn't practice on Thursday. Larry O didn't practice either day. And then Cam Hayward popped up today with the typical coach's decision, not practicing on Thursday like they do with him. So that's the Steelers.
Okay. Well, what's your theory? Because it might be the same in mine.
My theory is Thursday's practice is more intense than Wednesday. These guys were basically getting rest, but because they were already on there for an injury, they just didn't even bother rest, and then therefore try to mix it up a little bit with give old Wang Harbs a taste of his own medicine.
I agree. When I looked at this, I was like, wait, they're all going the wrong direction. I think this is a rest day. I think they're just giving them a day to get themselves right, not having to push it. We'll see what Friday. I will be stunned if some of these players even have a designation on Friday. So, because I just think back to, you look at the trends for the Steelers and how they handle injuries. And I thought last week they were going to have a ton of designations, and they didn't. And even players that didn't even practice most of the week didn't, like Najee Harris didn't, but Jaylen Warren did. I have no flipping clue with this team anymore when the injury report comes out. It does feel like a lot of gamesmanship, like you said. But Bryan, anything to add about the injury report?
No, somebody's going to play and somebody's not.
Love it.
You ready for the Ravens?
Expert analysis. Let's go to Baltimore. Yes.
All right. This one is taking a lot longer because, and I have to try to read this squint a little bit more because the Steelers have still said that their injury report for Thursday is TBA when it was due 5 hours ago.
The Steelers PR department said Thirsty Thursdays. That's why.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay. Well, you had
Tequila Cowboy.
Yeah, they're beating Todd Haley there.
Yeah.
Thirsty Thursday.
We're never getting credentials anyway, so who the hell cares at this point?
Do we really want them?
No. Really.
All right, so here we go. Guard center, is that Tristan Colon? I guess so. Not injury related, personal, but didn't practice the last 2 days. Lamar didn't practice with his knee the last 2 days. He's going to be out. Offensive lineman Patrick McCarry. Did I say that right? I should know that one. Yeah. With the toe, didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday. Marcus Peters, rest, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Outside linebacker Deshaun Phillips with a quad was limited both days. Patrick Queed, linebacker with a thigh, limited both days. Tackle Ronnie Staley. Did Wangs do this as well with an ankle? He came back to be full on Wednesday, limited Thursday. Moving in the wrong direction.
He's missed the last 2 games of that.
I know. So we'll see if that was just them messing around or what. Linebacker, is that Christian Welsh, I guess?
Welch, yeah.
With a concussion, limited both days. Cornerback Darrell Woodley, hamstring, didn't practice both days. And guard Kevin Zeitler with a knee, did not practice either day.
Interesting.
And I left out all the ones that were rest just on Wednesday. They cut them off, so that's good.
Yeah. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. If you're listening live on Facebook or YouTube, we're not going anywhere. On the audio side, we'll be right back after a word from these sponsors. All right, Steeler fans, second half of the Steelers preview. We're here to talk about over-unders. We're going to give you the up-to-date spread. We're going to give you our score predictions. Then we're going to hit you up with some trivia before we send you on your way. Let's talk about the over-under. So, Bryan, you did have some updated standings, yes?
Yes, I did.
And then he lost the notebook.
No.
Oh, he got it. Okay.
Why do you think I just disappeared from the screen for a little bit? No, that's not it. So I made a mistake.
I was going to say, because if not, I thought I'd tighten the gap a little bit. But
you did, but here's the thing. I gave you both a point for taking the under, and you both took the over.
We both had the over.
So I did make a mistake. So the updated, so we all tied. We all went 4-4-4 the other day. So with that being said, 48 for one Bryan Anthony Davis. We are going to go ahead and say 46 for one Dave Schofield and 44 for Jeff Hartman.
He's still in striking distance.
Oh, yeah. It could go all in 1 week.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So this is a very telling over-under. We have 3 individual players and 3 teams is how I broke it up. So we're going to start off with Kenneth Shane Pickett, as we always do, KP8. Kenny Pickett pass attempts. So just attempted passes. I have the line set at 28.5. Dave, over under.
Ooh. Well, 28 is his fewest, right? In a full game. I want it to be under so bad. But you know what? You could be winding clock and everything else. So let's you know what? I'll go with my heart and I'll go under.
All right. What about you, Bryan?
I'm actually going to go with the over, but I think Dave's right.
I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to run the ball very well in this game. Like, I don't see another 150 yards against Atlanta. I think that they're going to have to throw it to win it. And I think that Kenny Pickett's going to be over 28.5. So I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. See, that's what I was going to say. And then I'm like, you guys, I don't know. I mean, I second guessed it.
But that's how you win, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go with George Pickens, who everyone was upset because he wants the football. Targets. Just times they throw him the ball. I've got that line set at 5.5. Kind of regretting this line, but still, Dave, what do you think?
Oh, I'm going to go over with that. I don't know that he'll have that many catches, but I think they'll take at least a couple, maybe downfield shots with him, then plus some just regular stuff. And if it's under, then that's probably going to be good because that means the Ravens are overplaying him, and then you have a better chance to get the ball to people like Fairbairn.
Okay. What about you, Bryan? 5.5?
I'm going under. George Pickens is a priority for defenses. If you watch that game against Atlanta the other day, Atlanta forced that. They wanted to go to George Pickens. Atlanta shut him down and did whatever they could to make him a non-entity.
Yeah, I think that old Wang Harbs is a guy that he's got the cojones to say, we'll put our best corner. We'll put Marlon Humphreys on him on an island. We'll give him the one-on-one. And I think the Steelers are going to target him. I'm going to go over. I could see him having 6, maybe even 7 in this game. And plus, he was complaining, and so that's what they tend to do is then they give that guy the ball. Like Deontay Johnson complained before Atlanta, and he got 11 targets. So I think Pickens gets over. I'm going to go next. Pat Freiermuth, receiving yards. The line is at 60.5. 60.5. Dave, what do you think?
I think it's going to go over.
Oh, I hope you're right. What about you, Bryan?
I'm going under with it. I think he's a priority as well.
You said under?
Yeah, I'm going under.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go. Sadly, I'm gonna go under. And I think the reason why I'm going to go under, but not by much, is I just think they're going to need more blocking and more protection. And I just think sometimes tight ends, unless they're going to put him in the slot, which they might. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going under, but not by much. I have him over 50. Let's go with the Pittsburgh Steelers sacks, 2.5. Dave, what do you think?
They had 3 on Huntley last year, but that was an overtime game. I'm going to go, you said 2.5?
That is correct.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go 2.
All right, Bryan?
I'm going over with 3.
This is one of those games where, so it has to be, correct me if I'm wrong, because we had the same discussion after their game at M&T Bank last year when, remember, TJ Watt, we thought that he broke the record in the first half. They ruled that was it the fumble or was it the fact that he was trying to run with the ball when he got hit?
It was an aborted snap. It's because the snap never got to him, but he did go down, get the ball, but then he stood back up like he was going to throw it. And that was the question. Did he do enough with it at that time to then make him a passer?
So if it's an RPO and Huntley puts the ball in Justice Hill's stomach, I don't even know if Justice Hill is even eligible to play. But anyways, let's just say, okay, Kenyon Drake, there you go. He puts the ball in Drake's stomach. pulls the ball out and is standing there and gets hit, is that deemed a pass or a run?
It depends on they will look at it as a whole, as the offensive line and the receivers.
Okay.
If you have receivers going out in a pattern and an offensive line that is not all blocking downfield, or at least whatever the NFL decides is a penalty for that this week. Don't get me started about penalties and officiating about this game. Then they'll call that a sack if it looks like they were attempting to pass the ball.
I'm going to go with under in 2 then. Let's go with Baltimore. Sacks of Kenneth Shane Pickett, or whoever the Steelers quarterback is, assuming it's Kenny Pickett. They did not give up a sack last week. I have that line set at 2.5. Dave, what do you think?
2.5 sack. I'm going to go over.
Bryan, what about you?
I don't want to go over, but I have to go over. So yes.
I'm going to go under with 2. Kenny Pickett's mobility will help with that number. And last one, Steelers turnovers, meaning the defensive takeaways.
Okay, takeaways.
So I've got 1.5 taking the football away from the Ravens. Dave, what do you think?
Just for fun, let's go over because of the changing quarterback. That maybe that'll be something.
He did throw 2, I think, last time they played him, or at least 1.
Well, yeah, he had 2 interceptions and they had a fumble. They had 3 takeaways last time.
Bryan, what about you?
Even if Lamar was in here, I'm going with the over. It seems like this team does turn over the ball when they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially in this stadium. I like over.
I'm going to go with the under, but they're going to turn it over one time. I think the Steelers do get 1. All right, so there you have it. Did you get all that, Bryan?
Yeah, so you just took the under right here.
Uh-huh.
And let me ask you about Pickens. Targets, Jeff.
Yeah, I said over.
Over. Okay, there we go. We're good.
I have one that's unofficial that I'm just curious.
Sure.
Number of quarterbacks for total of both teams taking a snap in this game, 2.5. Meaning, is the physicality of this game going to knock a quarterback one side or the other out for even a snap or 2?
I'm actually going to take the under. I'm
taking the under as well. Hey, we could add this to the mix, Dave.
No. This is just fun.
Jeff,
this is just for fun. I'm not going to give an answer, so that way you can't count it.
Well, the funny thing is that you just read through the injury report for the Ravens, and Tyler Huntley's not on it. But yet Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is reporting that Huntley has been sick and he's been limited with what he can do throughout the week. And who did they sign? Hundley, I think, is the other quarterback. Brett. Okay,
but that was to the practice squad, who I expect to then be in elevation, right? Is that what they're? Yeah,
I would imagine. So, I don't know. Okay, Dave, the current spread. The spread's been all over the place. Last I saw was 2. It's been 2.5. It even went up to 3.
It was up to 3 at one point.
Yeah. What is it now?
2. Unless it changed in the last 5 minutes, it's 2.
Okay.
Steelers are favored by 2. Yeah, but I just refreshed. It's still 2.
All right, let's talk predictions. And Dave, how you see this game playing out? What's your prediction?
Well, the over/under is 37. That's pretty low. But at the same time, the Ravens have been struggling to score points. They scored, a number of points against Jacksonville, but that was just a late flurry by both teams. You talked about that on your Let's Ride. Other than that, it's been some lower scoring games with them, but their defense has been outshining their offense, which is not what was happening early in the season. I think this will probably be a lower scoring affair, as much as I would love to see it not be. Just if it's not, I don't know if that's great for the Steelers anyway. But I also do not want to see this game come down to the foot of Justin Tucker. Now, one thing we didn't talk about when we talked about the injury report is that the 21-day window opened for Chris Boswell today. And the question is Boswell going to kick this week? If Boswell's healthy, I think they go ahead and make the move and say, thank you, Matthew Wright, for everything you've done. Hope that helps you build your resume. But either way, the biggest thing that I want is I don't want the Ravens to have the ball with the opportunity of Justin Tucker to do something. So therefore, I am going Steelers 20, Baltimore 16.
Shut up. Are you
I
serious?
want it to be a 4-point game.
That's my freaking prediction.
Bryan did that to me the other day, a couple weeks ago.
I lived 20-14.
You said 20-14. I said 26.
No, 20-16. I'm looking at it right now. 20-16.
20-16.
I was thinking a 4-point margin.
Yeah.
Justin Tucker's not going to be able to win it. They'd have to score a touchdown.
Yep.
Son of
Jeff,
Steve O'Neal.
Great minds.
That's right. All right, Bryan, what's your prediction?
Well, let's talk about the dumb mind that thinks that there's going to be 50 points scored in the 30s. Yeah, I'm not going in the 30s. And I was thinking about what Dave was saying. You don't want Justin Tucker to be the guy here, but I'm looking at Matthew. All right. If I can go ahead and steal that from Shannon, because I keep stealing it from Shannon. 26-24, Pittsburgh Steelers. Matthew Wright with a last-second kick into the Steel City night.
As long as the Steelers win, I could care less what the score. I couldn't care less, Dave. I couldn't care less what the score is, as long as there's one more point for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
This is a game that style points really don't matter.
No, this is what Bryan needs for the Bold and Bizarre, that it's going to be 20-16, and the Steelers and the Ravens are going to have the ball for a 72-yard field goal, and Wang Harbs is going to line up and try to kick it, thinking that he gets an extra point.
Like fantasy.
70 yards.
Dave, consider yourself just stolen. I'm just giving you the article. Jeff, you can make that change for me. Put his name on it. It's done.
Okay, I do have to ask a little bit of, before we go to trivia, for those that might have be new listeners to our podcast, and especially to the preview, what year was it that we started calling John Harbaugh Wang Harbs? And it was Bryan that said he was being a total Wang. The Ravens beat the Steelers in that game, and he kept running the ball, and he was running it up a little bit, and he was going for it on fourth downs. And Bryan was like,
"What was it? The last game of the season of 2019?"
It was.
Okay. And then Bryan got so mad, he goes, "That guy's such a Wang." So that just
I should have went and pulled the audio from that.
Well. And I brought this up on the Scobro Show Tuesday because I want to ask you guys this. When you called him Wang Harbs, did we say that knowing that people called him Harbs?
No.
You did hear Coach Tomlin call him Harbs twice on Tuesday in the press conference.
Yeah.
He referred to him as Harbs.
Well, I have it on good authority that Coach Tomlin listens to us, and he's a Bryan Anthony Davis fan. So he was just
and he almost slipped up and said Wang Harbs. That's another Bold Bizarre for the post-game press conference.
Yes, if that happens, if I ever hear him in a press conference going Wang Harbs,
slipped up and accidentally put the Wang in front of Harbs when talking about him in the post-game press conference.
Obviously, when you're playing a game against Wang Harbs and you need red paint, and you go to Lowe's and buy red paint, and you find a barn and you get red paint, something like that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Trivia time, Bryan. Let's go.
Let Dave go first so I can think of one.
Okay. That's fine. No, that's fine. Dave, go ahead.
So he can think of one. All right. Well, mine isn't very impressive, but I looked back. When did the Ravens come back into the NFL?
Is it 96?
1996.
1996. And the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens in that time, including the postseason, have matched up 53 games. Of those 53 games, how many of those do you think the Steelers scored 20 points or less? Since 20 seems to be the number that they are dealing with a lot this year.
53 games, 20 or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with 35. It might even be more than that.
Brian?
I'm going to go 30.
Well, the answer is actually almost right in between you guys. It is 32. 32 times the Steelers have scored 20 points or less out of the 53. How about the Ravens? How many times do you think they've scored 20 points or less?
I would probably say I'm actually going to go 38.
35.
Brian, you should have stuck with your original answer because that one, the answer is 30. How many games do you think where neither team scored more than 20 points? They were both 20 points and under.
13.
20.
I guess Jeff wins because Brian just went over. It was 19. That's a lot of games for neither team to score over 20 points when you really think about it. But both of those teams have won a number of games. I think the Steelers, out of those 32 that they didn't score 20 points, I think they won 11 of them. So even though the scoring's down, and they've been some crazy games. I mean, I think we remember the ones of, we kind of want to forget the infamous
week one,
the 35-7,
the week one thrashing. Yeah. Wasn't it week one or is it week two?
No, that was week one. That was week one. But then you also got to remember the good ones, like in 2014, the 43-23. Things of that nature. How about the 37-0 in '97?
Yep.
But that one goes back an awful long way. But at the same time,
Monday Night Football, the Steelers score 35 first half points against them.
I know.
Yellow helmet.
And Debo was insane in that game too.
Now, final question. In which game has the Baltimore Ravens scored the most points against the Pittsburgh Steelers? What's the most they have scored? Did you remember when it was? The last part.
I'll tell you this. It was September 11th of 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what was it? Like 35-7 or something like that.
They scored. That's the second most points the Ravens have ever scored against the Steelers.
Oh, actually, I do know the answer. I'll let Jeff go first, but I do know this.
I don't know. Go ahead, Brian.
December 10th of 2017. And it was the 39-38 Pittsburgh victory. What a game that was.
That's correct. Believe it or not, out of the let's see here. And there's 3 games the Ravens have scored over 31 points against the Steelers, and they've lost 2 of them.
Wow.
So the Steelers have actually done much better in the higher scoring games. But that was except for 97 in there. That was, a lot of Ben Roethlisberger in there. But it's just interesting that the most points the Ravens have ever scored against the Steelers was in a losing effort.
There you go.
So, all right, I'm done now.
Brian, do you think of one?
Oh, yeah. This was on my mind. I just had to go get the specifics. So here we go. The very first victory for the Baltimore Ravens over the Pittsburgh Steelers was in the old Memorial Stadium on December 1st of 1996. It was their second game. 2 former Steelers had
second game against each other, right?
It was the second game against each other.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
It would not be on December 1st.
Yeah.
But 2 prominent Steelers played for the Ravens and were very prominent in that game. 2 prominent former Steelers.
Was Rod Woodson on the team then?
No, he was not. He was still with the Steelers.
That's right. In 96?
Yes.
Was one a cornerback?
I only know one of them.
Go ahead with your one.
Because I'll tell you, one was a running back.
Oh, Bam.
It was Bam.
Is he right, Brian?
Yes,
right?
He's correct.
But I have no idea who the other one is.
Eric Green.
Oh,
Green?
Number 1
tight end.
Yes.
What?
So
now I didn't remember that one.
So he signed a huge contract in 1995 with the Miami Dolphins, and they did not keep him. They only kept him 1 year. He was basically run out of town by not Jerry Jones. My gosh, the coach, Jimmy Johnson.
Hmm.
So, and he ended up in Baltimore. So, very interesting stuff there. But there was two receivers, one for the Steelers, one for, believe it or not, the Baltimore Ravens, that just went crazy. One of them had 198 yards receiving. The other had 117. Which one was which? And who were they?
This was in, what was the year again?
1996.
I'm going to say for the Steelers. I'm pretty sure I remember because that would have been that's my freshman year of college. That would have been Charles Johnson. Would have been their better receivers.
The late CJ had one.
Was that who it was?
Yeah.
Because it had to be either him and who else was that? It was him and it was Hastings. And who was the other receiver that they had?
Yancey was still there.
Okay, Yancey was still there. Was he in 96?
Yeah, he didn't leave until after the 97 season.
Oh, yeah, he was still there. Okay. See, because I'm trying to remember of players that would have because I'm thinking I didn't start fantasy football until 1998. So I'm trying to think of players that would have been on the Steelers and would have been established for a few years by the time I started doing that.
Well, this other was for
the Ravens.
Yes. And I'm going to give you his former team, Cleveland Browns. And he used to stomp on the Steelers then too as a Brownie.
I know who you're talking about. Why does it sound familiar? I should know this. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I think I just came back to the screen. I think I know what it was. Because I try not to look at the live chat whenever we're doing trivia. What was his name? I've got the box score for this game sitting right here that I want to click on, but that's just not right. I don't remember. I'm going to kick myself as soon as you say it.
His name was Derek Alexander.
Alexander. Okay.
198 yards in that.
198 yards.
And man, was he tough.
Hold on. Now I'm clicking on it because I want to see it.
So the very interesting thing, these two teams, they have always been at it just from the very beginning. And it just seemed like it has always been that great rivalry. So there you go. A very, very fun game to talk about. Those two players that I just talked about for the former Steelers, they were prominent the next year, but the Steelers ended up sweeping them in 1997. I'd like to invite you all to check out the BTSC DeLorean that appears as we go back in time to these games. Man, you're going to yell at me. People are going to yell at me because I only could do 8 games. But I've already done 8 games that happened in Baltimore. So I just did 8 games that just happened in Pittsburgh. And I had to leave out some good games. So next year we'll be throwing those games in there. But there's so many memorable games. And these teams have only played, 34 to 28, 54 times or so. 53.
That was my original question. It was 53.
53.
So that was a great estimate. Man, looking at the box score of this game, this is crazy. Just remember these names. Jeff, you'll appreciate this. Okay, well, first of all, it was Ted Marchibroda coaching against Bill Cowher. Okay. First touchdown of the game, Vinny Testaverde to Jonathan Ogden.
Yes. Number 1 pick. Number 4 pick.
Over kick.
That's
Norm Johnson with the 22-yard field goal after but the second score was Andre Hastings, 30-yard for Mike Tomczak.
When did Billick take
Ernest
over?
Biner, 7-yard rush. Eric Green, 3-yard pass from Vinny Testaverde. I mean, it's just like you're bringing back my childhood.
When did Brian Billick take over?
That's a good question.
Possibly 98, but I'm not for certain.
No.
That's my
guess.
I hated that guy so much, almost equal to Wang Harbs. To be completely honest, I could not stand Brian Billick. Anyways,
by the way, let me harken back to another show. If you missed Know Your Enemy last night, Daniel Wilcox was talking about the difference between the two coaches. I want you to read between the lines. he basically said when he was talking about the difference between Harbaugh and Tomlin, he basically said Harbaugh was a wang because he was like, some days he wouldn't talk to you. The other days he'd be like, hey, how's your wife and kids? Your wife makes a great cake. But the next day he'd completely ignore you. So
Wang.
I had the Wangdar on that one.
Wangdar. Okay, and also you're no longer allowed to say that he's going to make a move by going for 2. It's that he's going for the deuce. Okay. When the Wang goes for the deuce.
Honestly, I was going to throw it over to Bryan because I figured he's going to say when the Wang is up. I'm sure there's going to be something like that in the final thoughts here. But we'll go to Dave first. Dave, why don't you give us your final thoughts?
Oh man, I'm so used to composing them while Bryan talks. My final thoughts are this: this game is it's a pivotal point for the Steelers right now. They have the opportunity, I've said it a bunch of times, to get back into being in the mix. But if they don't win this game, it's very simple. They don't deserve to be. So it's more than just getting their record to where it's getting so close to 500 they could be back in the hunt when they show the graphics. It's if you're not, have the Steelers gotten good enough? Have they improved enough throughout the year with everything with the offense and Kenny Pickett and the young team coming together? Can the defense be consistent enough? Are they a good enough team to beat the Baltimore Ravens? If they are, then they deserve to be in the hunt. If they're not, then it just shows that this team isn't there yet. And we need to kind of take that, especially for those of us that are very ambitious, the Steelers could really make some noise here at the end. It's going to be a hard dose of reality. But I really think this one's a good measuring stick, Lamar or not. That is this team a team that can be there to compete, or are they not? So I think this is really your ultimate measuring stick to then head into the final 4 games after this. So I'm excited. I want to see what this team can do. I haven't had I'm excited to see, and then utter disappointment that we were getting back in September and October. Haven't had that feeling for a while, where that's been the prevalent feeling. I like this feeling how it is now. I really just want to keep it up.
All right, Bryan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I've been feeling really good lately as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and Dave's absolutely right. But I'd like to go a step further with Kenny Pickett. If he could go ahead and tame the Ravens the first time going, game on. This rivalry really, really turns into something to what it used to be, because that means that they're putting a little dent in the Ravens. That puts them a lot low. Puts them further back behind the Bengals, and the Steelers could make a move. And a lot of people are like, what's the point when you're going to get smashed in the wild card? Hey, just make me a playoff team. I'll take that. But we've been talking about our most memorable moments, our favorite games. I would be remiss if I don't talk about this, and I haven't talked about it a lot because no Steeler fan is going to tell you that the 2006 game right after Thanksgiving, a 27-0 loss, was one of your favorite Steeler games ever. It is for me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I was down in my my man cave. I was there with my one dog, Palamalu. Her name was Palamalu at the time, and so we're watching the game together. She always stuck with me, watching it on the big screen, feeling good. Then I had the 2005 bobbleheads lined up on the top of the TV. I was so mad at halftime. They were playing so poorly. I turned all of them around because I said to the bobbleheads, I can't even look at you anymore. And I had a hard time to say that to Heath Miller. It really hurt me to do so. But I turned them all around. I couldn't. My soon-to-be wife walks down right when I'm cursing out Jared from Subway, hoping he gains all of his weight back. I mean, she's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm like, the Steelers stink, whatever. And she said, well, I could come back later. I'm like, nah, come on. What's up? And she said, well, I got something to tell you. And she holds up a little stick. And for a person who never thought he'd be a father because of health, found out he was going to be a dad that day. And that was 16 years ago. And The rest of that game, Ben got his nose bloody. They lost 27-0. But I just sat there watching the game. I'm not even mad anymore at the Steelers. I'm like, this is life. And I thought about how great life's going to be. And you hear me talk about Connor all the time. And he's about to be 16 next year. And we're coming up on the 16th anniversary of what we call Connor Day, the day the Steelers lost 27-0.
Great story. Great story. I can't follow that up. So for you on my final thoughts, listen to Let's Ride on Friday morning. You can find us all of our shows like the Here We Go Steelers show, Dave Stat Geek from Thursday morning. Make sure you check that out as well. Only on our audio platforms, audio only, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Search Steelers or Behind the Steel Curtain. You'll find us, and make sure you give those a listen. But that's it. Steelers preview is a wrap. We'll be back for the post-game show on Sunday. Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
We'll see you next week. Take it easy.
Everybody else gets a little tight.